The human soldier rescued an alien warrior. She didn't know why she trusted him. Unexpected salvation. The air on Proxima B tasted like copper and ash. Rowan Everett crouched behind the twisted wreckage of a courier shuttle, the last working medikit clutched against his chest like a lifeline. His combat armor was scorched black on one side, and the emblem of the Earth Alliance Medical Corps was barely visible beneath layers of soot and dried blood. Not all of it human. Distant explosions lit up the horizon like artificial lightning, and Rowan counted silently between the flash and the rumble. The front lines were moving closer again. 3 days ago, he'd been separated from his unit during a surprise Varian assault. Now he was just trying to stay alive long enough to find his way back. A strange sound cut through the battlefield's constant din, something between a growl and a whimper. Rowan froze, fingers tightening around his sidearm. He'd seen what Varian soldiers could do. Their crystalline biology made them incredibly resilient, and their reflexes were twice as fast as any humans. But the sound came again, weaker this time, pained and desperate. Against every survival instinct, Rowan peered around the edge of the wreckage. In a shallow impact crater lay a Varian warrior, armor shattered across their torso, revealing the translucent, faintly luminescent skin beneath. Violet fluid, their equivalent of blood, pooled around them, glimmering under Proxima's harsh red sun. "Damn it," Rowan muttered. He should walk away. This was an enemy combatant, one of the alien soldiers who had been systematically destroying human colonies across 3 star systems. But he was a medic first, a soldier second. That oath went deeper than any war. The Variant's 4 eyes flickered open as he approached, all of them a startling amber color that reminded Rowan of autumn on Earth, a planet he hadn't seen in 3 years. The alien hissed weakly, attempting to reach for a crystalline blade strapped to their thigh. "Easy," Rowan said, raising his empty hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." The Varian bared teeth like polished obsidian. "Human lies," they rasped, their translator device crackling with damage. "Finish me with honor or leave." Rowan knelt beside them, deliberately setting his sidearm on the ground. "I'm a medic. I don't finish anybody." He opened his medikit and began assessing the aliens' injuries. The primary wound was a plasma burn that had melted through their armor and damaged the crystalline lattice that seemed to serve as both skeleton and skin for the Varians. Without treatment, the alien would die within hours. "What's your name?" Rowan asked, preparing a syntheskin patch that might, if he was lucky, be compatible with Varian biology. The alien watched him with wary eyes. "Thelura," she finally said. Rowan recognized the feminine pronoun marker in her speech. 4th Sentinel of the Crystal Vanguard. "I'm Rowan. Medical Court." He carefully applied the patch to her wound. "This will hurt." Thelura didn't flinch as the synth skin bonded to her damaged tissue, though her amber eyes briefly flared brighter with pain. "Why help enemy?" she asked, her damaged translator making her voice sound rough and mechanical. Rowan smiled grimly. "Because right now, we're just 2 people stuck in a war zone." A distant explosion, closer than the others, showered them with dirt and debris. Rowan looked up sharply. "We need to move. Can you stand?" Thelura struggled to rise, her crystalline limbs grinding together like glass plates. Rowan hesitated only briefly before sliding an arm around her waist to support her. Her body was surprisingly light, almost hollow feeling, and cool to the touch despite the burn of her wounds. "There's an abandoned research station 3 clicks east," he said. "If we can make it there before nightfall, we might have a chance." Thelura stared at him, those alien eyes unreadable. "You risk death. Your commanders would execute you for this." Rowan didn't deny it. Aiding the enemy was treason, plain and simple. But the lines had blurred for him long ago, somewhere between the 3rd civilian casualty he couldn't save and the 100th letter he'd written to a family back home. "Let me worry about that," he said. "Can you walk?" Together they limped across the scared battlefield, taking cover whenever patrol drones buzzed overhead. Thillara moved with surprising resilience despite her injuries, her crystalline form adapting to compensate for damaged sections. Once, when Rowan stumbled over hidden debris, she caught him with unexpected strength, her cool fingers gripping his arm. "Careful," she said simply. The research station appeared as twilight descended, a low, bunker-like structure partially buried in the rusty soil. Its security systems had long since failed, and Rowan forced the door with a portable decoder he'd salvaged from a crashed scout ship. Inside, emergency lighting flickered to life, illuminating dusty lab equipment and abandoned workstations. Rowan helped Thillara to a cleared examination table and immediately set to work properly treating her wounds with the station's more advanced medical supplies. "Your field medicine is..." Thillara paused, searching for the word. "Primitive." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "You're still alive, aren't you?" For the first time, something almost like amusement flickered in those amber eyes. "For now." As night fell outside, bringing Proxima B's distinctive aurora displays, Rowan secured the perimeter and took inventory of their supplies. 3 days of rations, clean water, and enough medical equipment to properly stabilize Thillara's injuries. Not great, but they'd survived worse. When he returned to the main lab, he found Thillara examining a star chart projected on one of the still-functioning displays. Her crystalline fingers traced the boundary lines between Earth Alliance and Varian territories. "Your people push farther each cycle," she said without turning. "Taking worlds not yours to take." Rowan set down the supplies he'd gathered. "From where I stand, your people fired the first shots." He kept his voice neutral, too tired for ideological debates. Thillara's crystalline structure shifted slightly, a Varian shrug. "History is written by survivors." She turned to face him, her amber eyes catching the light. "You saved enemy life. Why?" Rowan began organizing the medical supplies, avoiding her gaze. "I told you, I'm a medic." "No," Thillara said, moving closer, her movements still stiff but stronger than before. "Not only medic. You are something unexpected." Outside, the distant thunder of artillery continued, a constant reminder of the war raging across the planet. But inside the abandoned research station, something fragile and unexpected had begun to form. A momentary peace between two beings who should have been enemies, but had instead become, however briefly, survivors together. Rowan looked up at the alien warrior, her crystalline form catching the emergency lights in facets of amber and violet. "Get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." Thillara inclined her head in what might have been agreement. "Tomorrow," she echoed, the word sounding strange and hopeful on her alien tongue. Uneasy alliance. The first light of Proxima's red sun seeped through the station's narrow viewports, casting crimson shadows across the laboratory floor. Rowan jerked awake, hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. He'd fallen asleep in a chair, body curled uncomfortably against cold metal. It took him a moment to remember where he was, and who he was with. Thillara stood by the viewport, her crystalline form catching the light in facets of deep amber. She seemed stronger already, her body having repaired some of the damage during the night. Varian physiology was remarkable. What would kill a human, they could often survive. "You watched me sleep," Rowan observed, stretching stiff muscles. Thillara turned, her 4 eyes narrowing slightly. "Your species is vulnerable in unconsciousness, inefficient design." "Do Varians not sleep?" Rowan asked, checking the medikit readings on her wounds. "We enter restoration cycle," she responded, "but remain aware, always ready." Rowan nodded, wondering how exhausting it must be to never truly rest. "Your wounds are stabilizing, but we need to replace that patch soon. The syntheskin isn't designed for your biology." Thillara's hand moved to the violet-stained patch on her torso. It was adequate. Unexpected. Kindness. The word seemed foreign on her tongue, as if the translator struggled with the concept. Before Rowan could respond, a distant rumble shook dust from the ceiling. Both of them tensed, eyes meeting in silent understanding. The battle was moving closer. Rowan moved to the station's old security console, coaxing its ancient systems to life. Static-filled images from external cameras revealed the situation: a Varian scout unit moving through the nearby ridge, followed by a larger deployment of Earth Alliance mechs. They were about to be caught in the crossfire. "Your people approach from the east," Rowan said, pointing to the crystalline forms moving with predatory grace. "My people from the west. Neither knows we're here, but that won't last." Thilara studied the footage, her posture shifting subtly. "The scout unit, my unit. They search for me." A complex emotion crossed her alien features, something Rowan couldn't quite read. Would they welcome you back if they knew a human saved you? Her silence was answer enough. The Varian military code was notoriously rigid. Accepting help from the enemy was likely a violation punishable by death or worse. "We need to move," Rowan decided, gathering supplies. "There's a network of maintenance tunnels beneath the research station, originally used for cooling systems. They might lead us away from the fighting." Thilara watched him pack with wary curiosity. "Why continue to help? Your duty to wounded enemy is fulfilled." Rowan paused, considering the question. Why was he risking everything for an alien who would have killed him without hesitation 2 days ago? "Because this war has taken enough," he finally said. "And I'm tired of watching people die when I can do something about it." A faint grinding sound came from Thilara, the variant equivalent of a thoughtful hum. "Humans are unpredictable." "You have no idea," Rowan muttered, sealing his pack. Together, they forced open the access hatch to the maintenance tunnels. The passage below was dark and cramped, designed for service drones rather than humanoids. Rowan led the way, the beam of his tack-light cutting through decades of dust and cobwebs. They had traveled perhaps half a kilometer when the first explosion hit. The tunnel shook violently, sending both of them staggering against the walls. Concrete dust rained down as the lights flickered. "Direct hit on the station," Thilara said, her voice unnervingly calm. "They will sweep the area thoroughly." Rowan quickened their pace, ignoring the burning in his lungs from the dust and exertion. The tunnel gradually widened into a junction chamber, where massive coolant pipes once regulated the station's temperature. Most had long since ruptured, but one enormous conduit remained intact, leading deeper into the planet's crust. "Through there?" Thilara asked, skepticism evident. "Unless you prefer to go back and introduce me to your friends," Rowan replied with a grim smile. The Varian made that strange grinding sound again, but followed him into the pipe. The metal was cold beneath their hands and knees as they crawled forward, the only sound their breathing and the occasional distant rumble of combat. Hours passed in the cramped darkness. Rowan's muscles screamed in protest, and even Thilara's seemingly tireless form began to move more rigidly. Finally, the pipe ended at a rusted maintenance hatch. With their combined strength, they forced it open and emerged into the dying light of day. They stood on a rocky outcropping overlooking a vast canyon. The landscape was dotted with the twisted metallic husks of ancient mining equipment, abandoned when the planet was first contested. In the distance, plumes of smoke marked ongoing battles, but this area seemed temporarily forgotten by both sides. "We need shelter before nightfall," Rowan said, studying their surroundings. "Temperature drops below freezing once the sun sets." Thilara pointed toward a cluster of derelict mining pods embedded in the canyon wall. "There. Defensible position. Limited approach vectors." Rowan nodded, impressed by her tactical assessment. They made their way carefully down the slope, alert for automated defenses or surveillance drones. The nearest pod had been partially crushed by a rockslide, but its interior remained intact, a single room with basic life support systems that Rowan might be able to reactivate. As night fell, bringing with it a bone-deep chill, they huddled inside the pod around a small heating element Rowan had cobbled together from spare parts. The soft orange glow cast strange shadows across Thilara's crystalline features. "Your wounds need attention," Rowan said, noticing fresh violet fluid seeping through the syntheskin patch. Thelera hesitated, then inclined her head in permission. Rowan worked carefully, cleaning the wound and applying a fresh patch enhanced with minerals he'd found in the mining pod. Elements similar to those in Varian biology, if his limited cynobiology training was correct. Your knowledge of my physiology is unusual for a human medic, Thelera observed. Rowan's hands stilled momentarily. I treated Varian prisoners once. Early in the war, before. He trailed off, unwilling to complete the thought. Before your high command ordered no quarter, Thelera finished for him. As did ours. Their eyes met in the dim light, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. Both pawns in a conflict whose true causes remained shrouded in political manipulation and resource greed. How did it start? Rowan asked quietly. This war. Your people must have a different version than what I was taught. Thelera was silent for so long that Rowan thought she might not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a weight he hadn't heard before. The first contact at Epsilon Eridani. Your ships approached our sacred cultivation world. Warnings were ignored. The crystal forests that took millennia to grow were harvested by your corporations in days. Her 4 eyes dimmed slightly. What you call resources, we call ancestors. Rowan absorbed this in silence. The official Earth Alliance history described unprovoked Varian attacks on peaceful mining operations. How much had been hidden from both sides? I'm sorry, he said simply, knowing the words were inadequate. Thelera's head tilted slightly. You did not cut the forests. No, but I'm part of what came after. Outside, the wind howled through the canyon, carrying the distant sounds of war. Inside the small pod, 2 enemies sat side by side, sharing warmth and stories as old as conflict itself. Rest, Thelera said eventually. I will maintain watch. Rowan wanted to protest, but exhaustion pulled at him like a physical weight. Wake me in 4 hours. You need restoration too. As he drifted toward sleep, Rowan thought he heard Thelera speak again, so softly that he might have imagined it. Unexpected indeed. Rowan of Earth. In the morning, a new sound woke them. The distinctive whine of scout drones sweeping the canyon. Their brief respite was over. The war had found them once again.